We are about to start this event. Please have a seat. And welcome to the panelists who join us online. Let's find it. So we are now officially launching this event. If it's fine, we have our panel seating and people still entering the room here in Geneva. Excellencies, dear colleagues, good morning to who is with us here at Palais des Nations, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to our online panelists joining us from various time zones, and to who is watching the video of this event. The Geneva Environment Network is joining the permanent mission of Indonesia in welcoming you today for a briefing in preparation of the 10th World Water Forum, which will take place in Bali next year. In Geneva, as you know, water is at the center of various governmental processes. Just to mention some: human rights, humanitarian, health, meteorology, disaster prevention, nature conservation, economy, peace, pollution, and others. And numerous organizations focus on water issues, making this region a strategic hub for global environmental governance. This is also why the Geneva Water Hub was put in place 9 years ago, and we are delighted to be joined by Ms. Nuha Kayal, who is a lead diplomatic and international relations specialist at the Geneva Water Hub, to moderate this event. You will soon be formally welcomed by His Excellency Ambassador Fabian Rubiart, the permanent representative of the Republic of Indonesia to the United Nations in Geneva. Before we hand over to His Excellency and you are formally welcomed, let me remind you that the documents presented, the summary, as well as the video of the event, will be made available on the webpage of this event. The link is will be available or is available on the screen. Throughout the event, those of you who are watching the video stream can raise their questions by using a form, which the link has been shared in the description and is also available on the screen. We have a dedicated session to answer these after the presentations, if time allows, but time will allow. I am now handing over to the permanent representative of the Republic of Indonesia, and Ms. Nuha Kayal will take over the moderation after His Excellency. Excellency, over to you.
Thank you very much, Diana, and thank you as well for the excellent arrangement and for the very nice introduction. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I know this is the end of summer, but I'm glad that you still find the time to join us in this event. And welcome to our event today. This briefing session is held ahead of the 10th World Water Forum next May 2024 in Bali, and also prior to the upcoming 2nd World Water Forum consultative stakeholders meeting in Bali, will be held this October. We are very grateful to organize this event together with Geneva Environmental Network and with the special participation of my good friend, Ambassador Beckers from the Netherlands, and my new friend, Mr. Abdallah, the current charge affairs of the Egyptian mission in Geneva. Welcome to Geneva. I've been told that you just arrived in Geneva. The Netherlands and Egypt have played a special role in advancing water issues in the global fora, in particular at the UN Water Conference negotiation and the UNFCCC. It is very unfortunate that Ambassador Gamal Eldin, although he really wanted to come but could not join us today because he had to suddenly travel to Cairo. We will have Mr. Endra S. Atmawijaya from the Ministry of Public Works and Public Housing of Indonesia, which will explaining us on the next year preparation or program of World Water Forum, including this October 2nd consultative meeting also in Bali. And we will also have the UN Special Rapporteur Office, the UN Water Office, the UNESCO Water Convention Secretariat, and the Geneva Water Hub. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned in the invitation, water is a critical resource of all life on Earth for both human and nature. We depend on healthy, functioning ecosystem of our water security, and they provide us with a plethora of goods, services, and well-being. Because of that, water should not only be considered as commodity, but a political priority. And that is why we often hear that water is politics at all levels, international, national, and local. And these priorities require action and solution, which are themselves political. Water is even more important in the midst of the current population growth and climate change. In fact, water is considered as one of the most important solutions to address the triple planetary crisis, which are climate, nature, and pollution. Thus, acknowledging the importance of water for our future and to achieve SDGs, Indonesia hosts the 10th World Water Forum, and I believe that the event is very timeline since next year 10th World Water Forum is already in front of us. The process and the consultation has started, which includes political, thematical, and regional processes, and that is going to be further elaborated in today's session. In addition to the preparation and process of the 10th World Water Forum during today's discussion, we will also listen very substantive presentation on the forum from the perspective of 2023 UN Water Conference, from the perspective of the UNFCCC climate change negotiation, from the perspective of the 1992 Water Convention, and last but not least, from the perspective of, this is very most important, human rights. In connecting all the process regarding to issue, I want to state some key points. First, we should promote synergy between all forums and international organizations, taking care of the water issues in accordance with their respective capability and expertise. The process and platform shall complement one another instead of duplication and competition. And second, we should continue to enhance our cooperation and recalibrate our action to achieve water-related SDG goal and to be part of solution of water-related challenges. Cooperation needs to support means of implementation for developing countries. We shall discuss more concrete action to show that multilateralism could deliver. Thus, we look forward to seeing you all at the WWF in Bali next year, and also in Bali this October for the second WWF stakeholder meeting. I would like to stop here so we can start listening our esteemed speaker for today, and thank you again for all panelists, organizers, moderators, and participants that make this event possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and thank you for those kind words of introduction. As it has been stated previously, my name is Noura Kayal. I'm the lead diplomatic and international relations specialist of the Geneva Water Hub. The Geneva Water Hub is the center of competence on water for peace, which is based here in Geneva. And the objective of our today's meeting is really to discuss more about those ideas and what is coming up with the 10th World Water Forum. Before starting, I'd like just to extend our sincere thanks to the permanent mission of the Republic of Indonesia and the Geneva Environmental Network for convening this timely meeting. And with this kind word, I would like to pass the floor to His Excellency Ambassador Paul Beckers, permanent representative of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to the UN, WTO, and other international organizations in Geneva. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kayal, and ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, a very good morning to you. Thank you for being here. And first and foremost, congratulations to the Republic of Indonesia for hosting the next World Water Forum. Very good to sit here next to my good friend, Ambassador Rudyard Fabrian. There is a shared history of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and Indonesia. Also a connection on water, both fighting sea level rise. Maybe a few words on the Netherlands, because water in the Netherlands are, well, even in our name, Netherlands, relates to the level we are in relation to the sea. And maybe it's good to share that the fact that in the Netherlands, children, babies, learn to swim before they learn to walk. Why? Because water is a friend and foe. A friend, good morning. A friend, if you look at the fact that we are the second largest exporter of agricultural goods. Very small country as we are, but that's a fact. And that's related to the fact that we're able to grow a lot like seedlings, agricultural produce. That's related to the fact that we have an abundance of water. So it's a friend, but it's a foe as well. There's water everywhere. So that's why we have babies, children learn to swim, because the fact that they will encounter water at an early age, it's huge, and they learn to be able to protect themselves. And people always think about the Netherlands, yes, you ride bikes all the time. Yes, we do, but that's pretty much to escape the rain that's coming from above. So that's even water related. That's not serious, by the way. Anyway, water. And coming back to Indonesia, during the state visit of our king and queen not too long ago, there also water quality and ecotourism was part of the program when they visited Lake Toba in Sumatra. Again, thank you, World Water Forum. Very important also in relation to the recent UN 23 Water Conference that the Netherlands was honored to host together with Tajikistan. It was a watershed moment with more than 800 commitments, and we have a good water action agenda. And now it's important to keep the momentum going, and therefore the World Water Forum is so important. One specific item I want to highlight is that together with Tajikistan and Senegal, the Kingdom of the Netherlands is co-facilitating a resolution that requests a UN system-wide strategy on water and sanitation. And this is very topical because this coming Friday, the resolution will most probably be adopted in New York, so that's September the 1st. And we have already over 60 co-sponsors, but making use of the opportunity of speaking to you, we do count on your support to make this happen. It's very, very important. With that, back to you, Madam Chair. And again, very good to see fellow, can I say, panelists around the table. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Beckers. I believe that with those words, we're ready to listen to our final opening statement, which would be made today by Mr. Abdallah Mouafi. He's the Deputy Permanent Representative of the Arab Republic of Egypt to the United Nations office here in Geneva. Mr. Mouafi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mrs. Kayal. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me such a great pleasure to be welcoming you today to this important event. As you may all be aware, Egypt has long called for a comprehensive approach to addressing water issues in a more holistic manner that breaks the silos of water, climate, human rights, and sustainable development, as well as brings together member states, the UN system, and other stakeholders to help improve access to water for human rights, peace, climate resilience, and for life. This holistic approach to water issues has been highlighted in Egypt's strong interest in advancing water issues in the different multilateral fora. In Geneva, Egypt worked with the permanent missions of Ecuador, Fiji, Hungary, and Jordan to deliver a joint statement at the 46th session of the Human Rights Council, signed by 45 countries on the global water crisis. This was followed by a series of high-level events organized by the same core group in partnership with WMO, highlighting the various aspects of the global water crisis. This effort was culminated during the 50th session of the Human Rights Council in June 2022, where 70 countries joined the joint statement on strengthening the UN Conference on the Midterm Comprehensive Review of the implementation of the objectives of the International Decade for Action for Water, requesting the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights to remain actively engaged in the process leading up to the 2023 UN Water Conference, and to continue reporting on the promotion and protection of human rights related to water. Furthermore, and with the aim of advancing the inclusion of International Geneva's input to the UN Water Conference, Egypt, together with Senegal, Tajikistan, and the Netherlands, organized the first ever Geneva Water Dialogue, encouraging Geneva-based actors to identify their contributions and commitments for the Water Action Agenda. For time consideration, I will leave to my colleague from Egypt, Ahmed Taya, to talk about COP27 and Egypt's engagement in the UN Water Conference. But I just want to flag that as COP27 presidency, Egypt was keen on placing water at the heart of the climate agenda, especially through the launch of the Action on Water Adaptation and Resilience, which is known as AWARE Initiative, in partnership with WMO. Egypt also highlighted the holistic approach to water issues during its strong engagement in the UN 2023 Water Conference. Together with Japan, Egypt co-chaired an interactive dialogue on water for climate, resilience, and environment. In conclusion, I would like to stress the need for a whole of society, whole of UN approach to advance all these efforts forward in the upcoming global events, including the 10th World Water Forum. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mowafi. I think with this end of the opening statement, we already have a good overview of today's agenda, which is really to talk about this link between the 10th World Water Forum, the UN Water Conference, and the COP27 and COP28 that are coming up. And with this, we will now move to the panel session, and we will start with our first speaker, which is Mr. Johannes Kuhlmann. Mr. Johannes Kuhlmann is currently the Vice Chair of UN Water. He's joining us from New York, and he will brief us on the outcome of the UN Water Conference. Johannes, I hope you can hear us, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if you can all hear me in Geneva.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, I am happy to be in your meeting today, and the ambassadors have already really pointed at some of the highlights that come from the UN 2023 Water Conference, and also from UN side. I think, again, a big thanks to Tajikistan and the Netherlands for co-hosting the Water Conference, but also to the co-facilitators of the interactive dialogues, where of course, Egypt was essential in co-leading the interactive dialogue number 3 on environment and climate, together with Japan. The conference, if I can summarize it as succinctly as possible, called for there were 4 major aspirations formulated during the conference, and then I will go a little bit into the detail, and the 4 major aspirations are summarized in water really must be at the heart of the political discussion globally, because water is so important for so many of the sustainable development goals. And this was also underscored by Antonio Guterres in his closing speech. The conference has acknowledged that water must be a catalyzer for human health, for the environmental sustainability, and for economic activities rather than a threat. And of course, we all know how much water can be a threat. The Dutch ambassador has alluded to it. So we want to flip this around and make water a positive agent for sustainable development. Then the water cycle is really a global common good. So we are all connected. And yes, you can ride your bicycle to escape the rain in the Netherlands or anywhere else. And maybe it is primarily in the Netherlands that when you ride a bike, you can also know where the wind comes from, because it always blows into your face when you ride a bicycle in the Netherlands, if I can take up that thread. And then The human right to access to safe water and sanitation, of course, is a human right that has been accepted, formulated, and that is not yet implemented, and that is unacceptable and must be changed with priority. Now, the Water Conference, apart from those four, so to say, major aspirations or framings that have been formulated, has two mandated outcomes. It is the Water Action Agenda that has been already mentioned. So at the moment, my information is that we have 832 voluntary commitments in this Water Action Agenda. It is really the Water Action Agenda is really that tool, that engagement tool, that community that can make a change in terms of implementing water action for change. The Water Action Agenda will be monitored by the UN system, and surely there will be a session organized by the Netherlands and Tajikistan also in Bali on the Water Action Agenda. And then there has been a second mandated outcome from the Water Conference. That's the President's summary, the summary of proceedings of the conference. And this summary has been published a few weeks after the conference and highlights in a succinct way some of the main game changers that we need to implement to transform the way we address water, because we cannot always throw more money at the problem. That will not work. We have talked about doubling the financial efforts to reach SDG 6 4 years ago. We are now at six-folding the investments to reach SDG 6. And if we talk for another 2 years, then we have the 12-fold investments. So that system doesn't work. We need some transformational game changes. And there are 7 topical game changers and 2, say, organizational ones that come from the conference. The topical ones are the water and climate policies need to be integrated, and both the Netherlands and Egypt were part of the water and climate leaders who have paved the way for this, and now we really want to implement this worldwide. The COP in Egypt with the AWARE initiative and the COP now in the UAE 28 will be milestones for this. Water was really the first time a major topic in the Egyptian COP. And I think we have a good starting point here to complete this integration of water and climate policies by 2030. Then we have agreed in the conference that there should be a global water information system by 2030 to make sure that the information that we need is available to manage water in an integrated way for agriculture, for energy, for transport, for health. If we don't have an integrated way how we can assess water, we cannot manage it to the fullest and to the benefit of the people on the ground. There should be early warnings for all by 2027. And the water information system and the early warnings for all have also been explicitly asked for by the UN Secretary General for the year 2030 for the information system and for the year 27 for the early warnings. So those are 2 very concrete UN initiatives that the Secretary General has explicitly formulated. Then there is a game changer on making sure that sustainable development, economic development, and especially food production need to be decoupled from water consumption. Because if we cannot resolve the ever-growing demand for water, food, energy, then we will not be able to provide secure water and food for the growing population. And of course, this is especially striking in places where we have a high population growth. We know that we need to reevaluate how we calculate water economically. We see water as an extractive agent, as a commodity in most parts of our doings, but really we need to evaluate water together with its societal and environmental values. And there's a commission at the moment led by Singapore and the Netherlands to evaluate the economy of water. And we and surely build on their recommendations that will come out in 2024. Education is a game changer. We need more education. There has been a call for a global water education network, and various discussions are already taking place to really galvanize this network through all the existing education efforts already, and AWARE initiative is one of them, for example. And the last topical one, and Sonia, my colleague from UNECE, will certainly talk to that later, is a strengthened water cooperation, also through legal tools and conventions like the Water Convention. So transboundary water cooperation is a key. We know that for surface water, but that also holds for groundwater, for the green water, so the water that is being transported from one country to the other through the atmosphere. And so those are the 7 topical game changers. Then we have 2 more. It's the UN system reform on water. The Dutch colleague has already mentioned that at the moment we are calling for a system-wide strategy in the UN to do joint planning instead of coordinating all the different parts of the UN system after programs have been implemented. That's a milestone. And the reform of the UN water coordination mechanism and maybe re-mandating it is a big piece of that. And there's the need for an intergovernmental process on water in New York, and this is also contained in the resolution, or the resolution that is being discussed on and hopefully adopted consensually on Friday, will be the first step to create this intergovernmental process that we need in New York to really focus on water. I've already mentioned the COP process. I don't think I need to go into detail there. It is very important. We have a similar process for biodiversity now that we need to take into account, and that is certainly also important for the discussions in Bali. Because the whole of society and whole of government approach was mentioned by my Egyptian colleagues. I think that this is especially important, and maybe I need to amend this with whole of systems approach. We need integrative systems where different partners can come together to support and strengthen the water action agenda, but also form coalitions for those game changers, and maybe especially first those that are easy to implement, for example, the water information system, the early warning and the education, to discuss this in Bali and to use the World Water Forum as a primary stage to make sure that we have engagement, to make sure that we have a wide coalition to work together on this. And the beauty of the World Water Forum is that we have so many stakeholders from across the society, across the systems, and in a whole of government approach, although of course that is not an intergovernmental meeting, but government people will be there, civil society will be there. And I hope that we will have a wide engagement from the food and energy and health people as well. So the World Water Forum next year is our big chance to strengthen the community that is behind the water action agenda and the game changes that have been discussed and recommended in the New York conference in March this year. With that, I'd like to hand the floor back to Geneva. Thank you for inviting me today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kuhlmann, and thank you also for joining us from New York at this very early hour. I think it's really important for the Geneva community to listen to what has been the result of the UN Water Conference. Before going ahead, I would like just to recall that there would be a time for a Q&A session at the end of this panel discussion. For those who are in the room, it's really easy. You can raise your flag. For those of you who are online, please register your question. There's been a link that has been shared on the website, so please do write your question in advance. Going ahead with the transition that has been initiated by Mr. Kuhlmann, I would like now to turn to Mr. Atmawi Jaja. He's the head of the Secretariat of the National Organization Committee of the 10th World Water Forum. He's also joining us online Mr. Edma Wijaja. He will brief the audience on the preparation that is currently taking place on the 10th World Water Forum. And also, I think I focus on the upcoming 10th second stakeholders, which is taking place in 1 month. Mr. Edmadwi Jaja, the floor is yours. I hope you can hear us and we can hear you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kayal. Can you all hear me from Indonesia?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you. So very good afternoon and very good morning in Geneva, Excellencies, speakers, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and water friends in Geneva. First of all, we are honored and pleased to participate in these very important discussions with other speakers and also colleagues and water friends. And though I sincerely apologize for not being able to attend in person in Geneva, but I thank you for this opportunity to share in these briefing sessions about our preparations towards the 10th World Water Forum. So on behalf of the government of Indonesia, we would like also to extend our gratitude and appreciations for the initiative of the permanent missions of the Republic of Indonesia to the UN in Geneva and also UN Water Family in Geneva to support us and for disseminating the information regarding the 10th World Water Forum that will be taken place next year. The 10th World Water Forum will be held in less than a year. So we are now in a full swing to make this event in Bali a crucial moment. And for that, we will report to you the preparations that we have been undertaken since last year up to now. So at the 9th World Water Forum in Senegal, Indonesia is very much honored to host the 10th World Water Forum in Bali to be held in 18 to 24 of May 2024, along with the cultural events related to water. So you may have known that Bali is very much related to culture, and there is a place for us to know the relations about water and culture and other aspects that is very important. And the forum itself is the largest international forum to invite various stakeholders to participate and make commitments in water sectors. So the World Water Forum itself is held every 3 years, and it is an evolving process for the political improvement as well as the stakeholders improvement system. First forum in 1997 in Marrakesh until the 9th forum in Senegal. So during the process, water becomes a concern in the high-level decision makers, such as head of states, parliamentarian, ministerial, local governments, and river basin organizations. The message is clear that the water is politics, underlining that only the commitment and will of the political actors will make the concrete deliverables possible. We can assure that the National Organizing Committee with the World Water Council, so of course under the leadership of our President Joko Widodo, we will work together with related global and local partners to bring about good results and impacts for addressing multiple water sectors, water issues in the world. And President Joko Widodo has become a water messenger to the head of states during the G20 meeting held in Bali last year. The objectives of the water messengers are to mobilize actors across stakeholders to support the political process and outcomes of the forum. As the preparatory milestones towards the 10th World Water Forum, we have held the kickoff meeting or the first stakeholder consultation meeting that was successfully held on 15 to 16 February 2023 in Jakarta. So more than 1,400 participants from over 58 countries attended this event. As a result of the first consultative meeting, the 10th forum will compose of 3 processes: political, regional, and thematic processes that I will explain briefly as follows. The political process, the first is political process, will be divided into 5 levels. First, head of states will be led by the Indonesian government. Parliamentarian, ministerial process that will work with UNESCO facilitation. So in this case, our government has signed the agreement also with UNESCO. The 4th level is local authorities in cooperation with United Cities and Local Governments, UCLG. NOC, or the government of Indonesia, has also signed the agreement with the UCLG in New York during the UN Water Conference. Basin authorities under coordinations of the International Network of Basin Organizations, or INBO, and our government of Indonesia, has also signed agreement with INBO during the meeting in Marak in Morocco a few months ago. And the outcome of the political process is the ministerial declarations, a result of an interlinked process with 2 other processes, thematic process and regional processes. So we seek for the good result that would be under the ministerial declarations. The second process will be the regional process that will be divided into 5 regions. Mediterranean, that will be under the Mediterranean Water Institute as a coordinator. Asia Pacific region. So in this case, Asia Pacific Water Forum and Asia Water Council will lead the process. In America region will be coordinated by the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB. For the African region, MCAO will lead the process. MCAO stands for the African Ministers' Councils on Water, in which Minister for Water Resources of Egypt is nowadays currently the coordinator of the MCAO. Then for the thematic process, the second process, that consists of 6 sub-themes. Water security and prosperity will be led by Aquafed. Water for human and nature led by the World Water Council. Disaster risk reduction and management led by iCharm. And health. Then governance, cooperation, and hydro diplomacy will be led by OECD. Sustainable water finance led by ADB and the Ministry of Public Works and Housing, Republic of Indonesia. Knowledge and innovations will be led by UNESCO. So these are the 3 processes that has been progressing from the first announcement up to recently. So we are ready to work with these partners starting from the second stakeholder consultative meeting in Bali next month. Indonesia has also actively participated in various international events like UN Water Summit in Paris, UN Water Conference in New York, UN Habitat Conference in Nairobi, Health Meeting, Asia Water Council in South Korea, also International Conference on Water and Climate in Morocco. And the last one was the World Water Week in Stockholm last week in August. Then the National Organizing Committee will also participate in the upcoming very important international events. The World Water Congress in Beijing, Latin America Forum in Panama, COP28 in Dubai, and also Mediterranean Water Forum in Tunisia. So the upcoming preparations agenda for the 10th World Water Forum is the second stakeholder consultation meeting in October 12 to 13, 2023. It will be held in Intercontinental Resort, Jimbaran, Bali, with an inclusive program. We are targeting about 800 participants from national and international to attend this consultative meeting. So the meeting will be the place for the stakeholders to participating in the political, thematic, and regional processes that I mentioned earlier, to bring interim results of discussions of each working group and plan the forum week and beyond with a developed agenda. This meeting aims to have updated exchange of detailed political, thematic, and regional issues, as well as to have in-depth discussions with process working groups how to plan forum week with final concrete deliverables, including follow-up actions after the forum. So the detailed informations regarding the second stakeholder consultation meeting, as well as the 10th World Water Forum registration, are available on our website. You can see it on the www.worldwaterforum.org. So we look forward to your participations in the 10 World Water Forum processes, and this forum process will coordinate diversified actions and implementations of solutions through prioritized political agenda and identified primary themes, as well as regional needs to spare water for shared prosperity. As the host of the forum, we are going to support the forum in complementarity with other processes at the multi-level forum, as well as at intergovernmental process, as Johannes, Mr. Kuhlmann have said earlier. So these forums are UN Water Conference, Dusanbe Process, COP27, COP28, SDG Summit, as well as other important events. So to conclude, let's look to the future. We are here for prosperity, and water is the engine to make it happen. We are ready to collaborate with you and to bring about deliverables that should be concrete, achievable, and impactful through projects. We kindly invite you all to be part of the processes and actively participate and engage since the second stakeholder consultations meeting in October 2023 and May in Bali 2024. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Atmawijaja, for this very comprehensive overview of the preparation towards the 10th World Water Forum, and in particular, the political process, the regional process, and the thematic process. I believe it's important to see and to engage also within this community and to continue also to give this vision. We will now turn to have this vision from Sharm el-Sheikh to Bali and turn to the water and climate action. I will now give the floor to Mr. Ahmed Taya, who's also joining us online. Mr. Ahmed Taya is the Minister Plenipotentiary. He's been a very important person also with regard to the presidency of the Climate Change Conference and the COP27. Water was a very important part of the COP27, and I'm sure that he will tell us more today. We are running a little bit behind time, so Mr. Ataya, please keep in the 7 minutes time frame. Thank you very much. We cannot hear you yet. Can you hear us?
What about now?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. For the sake of time, I will start my presentation immediately. In my presentation, I will try, I don't know if you see my presentation right now. In my presentation, I will try to highlight our journey down the road of water and climate action, and to share with you our perspective of the future of water and climate action. Would you please confirm that you see my presentation?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So First, let me start by explaining why Egypt has gone down that road of water and climate action. Egypt is the most arid country in the world. With an annual rainfall of 18 millimeters, we top the list of the hyper-arid countries. Theoretically, Egypt should have been uninhabited, but fortunately, we have been endowed with the Nile water, which provide us with most of our water. But at the same time, it makes Egypt the second most dependent country on external water resources, with a dependency ratio of more than 98%. Furthermore, with an increasing population growth, our annual water per capita has been dropping until we reach less than 580, which is far below the global water poverty line of 1,000 cubic meter, and we are expected to fall below the extreme water poverty line in 2 years. Further and above, Egypt is facing a compound water climate security challenge. Clearly, Egypt, as a hyper-arid country, is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change, but as the most downstream country to the Nile River, we will be affected not only by the climate change impacts on Egypt, but by the climate change impacts on 10 other countries. With such critical situation, we had no option but to work actively. Sorry. To work actively on the water and climate action path. And to be honest with you, in the beginning, we didn't have a clear vision how to proceed. But we decided, because of the critical situation that we were facing, that we decided to act with what we know until we know our way. So we decided to muddle through until we know our way. And the beginning came from our Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, and when they started to organize annual versions of Cairo Water Week in 2018, and at the same time, our permanent missions in Geneva and New York started to play an active role, as my colleague Abdallah Mouafi indicated. We started to have various water activities, and our mission in Geneva started to be one of the leading actors in Geneva water community. Our mission in New York played an active role in the preparation, in pushing for the approval of New York 2023 conference and its preparation. And with these three tracks, we have been able to participate in advancing the multilateral water track. But there was another track that was water blind, which was the multilateral water and climate action track. And we got a good opportunity last year when Egypt was chosen to host the COP 2027. And we worked hard. We decided to bring water to the heart of climate action. The UK led the way by organizing the first water pavilion in COP 26, and we continued and we organized the second water pavilion, of course, in collaboration with our partners. But we added more activities. We organized the first high-level round table on water security, which called for a universal developing a strategy to ensure universal access for safe water and sanitation. And we organized the first thematic day on water, which emphasized that water is not only part of the problem of climate change, but it's also part of the solution. And this Water Day came out with 10 key messages that we'll see that we brought afterwards to New York 2023 conference. And we launched our initiative, which has been referred by my colleague Abdallah Mouafi and my dear friend Johannes, with 3 goals that respond to the needs of water and climate action, and 6 work streams that address most of the dimensions of the water and climate action, starting with decoupling water consumption from economic activity, green water accounting, the second work stream, and basin-wide adaptation, agreed basin-wide adaptation, the third work stream, calling for the universal access for early warning systems, and linking national water policies with national climate action. And with AWARE, these 4 actions, these 4 initiatives that we introduced to COP27 was culminated by introducing the first water text in the COP history in the covering decision of COP27. And this was the crowning of the event. And we consider this as a founding moment in the path of water and climate action. After COP27, we got another chance to reinforce the relation between the multilateral water track consolidated or materialized by New York 2023 Water Conference and the COP process. And we decided to seize this opportunity to try to build interlinkages between the two tracks, the COP track and the UN track, the UN water track. And we led the third interactive dialogue on water for climate resilience and the environment. And we tried to coordinate this dialogue to come out with key messages that reinforce the interlinkages between the 2 tracks. And we succeeded we believe that we succeeded to achieve that. And I will give you just one example, that one of the key messages of the Interactive Dialogue 3 was to call for developing a water-related inter-COP process. So we think that we are in a moment where the 2 tracks, I mean the UN multilateral water track and the COP track, started to come together, to come close together, and to be interlinked and to reinforce each other. But we have a third track that we still think that we need to get it connected to these 2 tracks. And this track is the World Water Forum. And the World Water Forum has the advantage that it's a multi-stakeholder water track. I think we all know that the 2 tracks, the COP track and the UN track, are state-based tracks. Yes, we have a representative from all other stakeholders, but the main role is played by states. But the World Water Forum has the advantage that it's a multi-stake water track, which gives the opportunity, almost equal opportunity, to all the stakeholders to contribute. So I think our vision for the future is that this third track should be interlinked to the other 2 tracks. And this is the question that I put it now to all of us, to the audience, to the speakers: how to link the World Water Forum to the other 2 tracks, the COP track and the New York track. Clearly, we are very happy with the preparation until now, with the first consultative meeting, and the second is coming. There is no thematic track for water, but we believe that all the thematic items that have been chosen for Bali World Water Forum are very related to water. And what we need now is to think of how we link these thematic topics to water, and make sure that water and climate, there's no thematic topic directly related to water and climate action, but I think this is what we need to do now: try to think how to build the links between water and climate action and the thematic topics that has been decided for the next Bali forum. And with this question that I put it to all of us, I finished my presentation. Looking forward to hear your answer, and expressing our will to cooperate and to listen and to participate in this process that we propose today. And of course, I'd be happy to answer any question that you might have.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taya. I think it's a very important question that you put forward to all of us, how to better link the track of the 10th World Water Forum together with the track of New York and the Water Climate Action track. With this, I turn to Ms. Sonia Koppel. Sonia Koppel is Secretary of the Water Convention, and she will also give us the perspective of the Water Convention on this. Please, Sonia, in 7 minutes so that we have enough time for the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, thank you very much for inviting us, and congratulations to Indonesia for hosting the World Water Forum and for the preparation, which are already very well on track, and for organizing this event today. So globally, as probably many of you know, more than 60% of all freshwater resources are shared by 2 or more countries, and more than 40% of the world population lives in such basins. So transboundary water cooperation is crucial for sustainable development, peace, climate action, as it was also included in the game changers of the UN Water Conference. And on the positive side, we could see that in 2020, in the second reporting exercise on the dedicated SDG indicator 6.5.2 on transboundary cooperation, 129 out of the 153 countries sharing transboundary waters have actually submitted reports. But the results show that we are not on track. So far, only 24 countries worldwide actually meet the related SDG target. So progress must be accelerated in order to meet the SDG target. And actually, now in 2023, we are in the phase of the third reporting exercise. UNESCO and UNECE as co-custodian agencies have so far received 96 replies. And I would like to encourage those of you, the countries who are here and who have not yet submitted replies, the deadline was end of June, to submit the replies in the coming weeks. So at the global level, the UN Water Conference also brought a very important momentum for transboundary cooperation. Actually, more than 70 countries have mentioned the topic in their plenary statements, and more than 40 commitments on transboundary water cooperation were submitted to the Water Action Agenda. There was also one of the 5 interactive dialogue was dedicated to the topic of water for cooperation, co-chaired by Switzerland and Senegal. And so we are on a positive track. And also 2 countries have actually joined the Water Convention during this conference, namely Nigeria and Iraq. And more than 20 other countries have shown their willingness to accede. The United Nations Secretary General has actually encouraged countries to accede to the Water Convention. So the Water Convention, as probably many of you know, is a unique now global legal and intergovernmental framework and platform for transboundary water cooperation. More than 130 countries take part in meetings and activities. We can really see a growing momentum for accession. When the convention was opened in 2016 to all United Nations member states, and currently has 52 parties. In 2023 alone, 5 countries have joined: Nigeria, Iraq, Namibia, Panama, and the Gambia just 1 month ago. And several other countries are very close, such as in Côte d'Ivoire, where the parliament already approved, or Sierra Leone, where the government already approved. And 20 other countries are also on the process of joining. And we hope that this rate will further accelerate and that maybe some countries will join before Bali. Much of the benefits of the Water Convention are due to that it's a living instrument which really helps countries to, both parties and also non-parties, to progress and address different challenges related to transboundary cooperation. So the institutional framework has a meeting of the parties at its top, and the next meeting of the parties will actually be held next year in Slovenia. So we look forward to seeing many of your countries there. But there are also different other working groups, such as our working group in IWM, which met in June with more than 80 countries present here in Geneva.
and task forces on water and climate, actually co-chaired by Netherlands and Switzerland, etc. Those different bodies help to implement the program of work, which is decided by the meeting of the parties. And the program of work helps countries to address different challenges related to transboundary cooperation, such as how to exchange data between countries, how to manage water in an intersectoral way between water, food, energy, and other demands for water, how to adapt to climate change, how to finance transboundary cooperation, where we'll have a global workshop in December this year, and others. Activities are implemented at national level, basin level, regional, and global level. For example, at global level, many different publication and guidance material has been prepared, helping countries to develop agreements, to adapt to climate change, or to address disaster risks. Some examples of direct support in countries provided under the Water Convention. For example, in the Senegal or Mauritanian Aquifer Basin, we have worked with the countries upon their request to establish a framework for cooperation and to sign an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. In some basins like Talas in Central Asia or Dniester in Eastern Europe, we have worked with countries to develop transboundary adaptation strategies and develop and actually implement adaptation measures. Or in the Northwest Sahara Aquifer system, we have worked with countries to identify benefits of cooperation and also carry out a dialogue between different sectors. As I said, water, food, and energy sectors, for example. Now, with regards to the Water Convention's involvement in global processes, so at the World Water Forum in last year in Dakar, it was very much welcome that Senegal made the topic of water cooperation as one of its priorities. And we were very much involved in the preparations, for example, in the action group on implementing transboundary cooperation to foster water and foster peace and prevent conflicts, which we actually led. Also, we organized a transboundary water cooperation pavilion for the very first time at any forum, which provided a space for different basin organizations, for example, from around the world and countries to present their good practices, to discuss challenges and the way forward. And then we also tried to make a link between the forum and UN Water Conference by organizing with Senegal and the European Union last June here a briefing for missions. Now, with regard to the upcoming World Water Forum, we are happy to see that the topic of governance and cooperation also features among priority topics. So we are co-coordinator of one of the thematic groups on transparent, accountable institution and legal frameworks, integrity and equity, and have already been actively participating at the first stakeholder meeting in February, and will also take part the upcoming one, including organizing a pre-event together with the Global Water Partnership. So finally, to conclude, in order to stick to my 7 minutes, I would say, what can we and what can you also do to further promote the momentum for transboundary cooperation, actually in order to promote achieving the target, which is so much lagging behind, as I mentioned earlier on. On the one hand, actually reporting if your countries have not yet done so. Then, obviously, we also hope that many of your countries will highlight the topic in Bali itself and in the preparatory process, but also in different other global events, such as the upcoming SDG Summit, where unfortunately water so far is not yet very high on the agenda. So we hope that many of your countries will speak about water in your statements and, if possible, also transboundary cooperation. And as I already said, we would like to
continue to offer the platform and framework of the Water Convention, also to contribute to the preparatory process. We did so already in June at our last working group meeting, where Indonesia presented the progress of preparing for the World Water Forum. And several other events are planned under the Water Convention in the coming months, as you can see on the screen, for example, on conjunctive surface and groundwater management, or on developing agreements, or on the water food energy ecosystem nexus, which will also help to contribute to the discussion leading up to Bali. And then finally, after Bali, will happen, as I already said, the 10th meeting of the parties to the Water Convention in Slovenia, where the results can be presented. And we hope also that many of your countries will take part at this meeting. So thank you very much, and looking forward to any questions.
Thank you very much, Sonia Köppel. I think it's a very good point that you're making, that, and maybe also a start of an answer of the question put forward by Mr. Attaya, how to better make the link between all those tracks. Maybe it's also good if we can promote water in the political declaration of the SDGs and reinforce this aspect. We are running behind on times. We have one last speaker, and unfortunately, Mr. Johannes Kuhlmann has to leave at 12:15. So my proposition is to give the floor to Mr. Pedro Arrojo Agudo, but for 5 minutes, please. And then we will give the floor quickly to Johannes Kuhlmann for concluding words. Pedro, may I ask you to shorten a bit your intervention, please? Oh, Pedro, you're muted.
Okay, now?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Excellencies. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to close this event. And I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation, and especially Indonesia and its government, which I hope to meet soon in Geneva in September. Well, I have a keen interest in the country, and I have therefore communicated my interest in an official visit, which has been requested this year, and which I hope to be able to carry out in 2024. The holding of the Water Conference in New York should have marked a historic before and after. With it, 50 years, nearly 50 years after the Mar del Plata conference in Argentina, the United Nations convened a new conference in the midst of a global water crisis with 2 billion people without guaranteed access to safe drinking water and around 4 billion without basic sanitation. A crisis that is worsening day by day with ongoing climate change. Over the last decades, the institutional weakness of the UN on this waterfront has been partly covered by the World Water Forums, in which many states and the UN institutions themselves have been participating, but without any responsibility for the effective resolution of the serious problem that this crisis entails. In my view, the New York conference will be a historic milestone if both United Nations and the member states assume the responsibility in the face of the global water crisis by effectively addressing the three urgent needs. The first one, the need for institutional strengthening of the UN to assume its proper role under the leadership of states in the effective realization of the human right to safe drinking water and sanitation established, by the way, in Articles 11 and 12 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, covering the right to an adequate standard of living and right to health, respectively, established by the Economic, Social and Cultural Rights Committee in its General Comment 15, and complying with the 2010 GA resolution, which recognized the right to safe and clean drinking water and sanitation as a human right, essential for the full enjoyment of life and all human rights. But in particular, developing the two essential demands that emerged from the conference in New York, to create an institutional mechanism to follow up the conference by creating a special envoy with whom I will, in any case, work hand in hand, and to promote a water conference every 2 or 3 years under the responsibility of the UN. Second, the need to promote mainstreaming that strengthens the coherence and institutional coordination of the United Nations at international and national level on this front, from an integrated human rights approach under the principle of sustainability from the current climate change perspectives. And third, the need to open up spaces for effective participation in the mechanism created to follow up the conference and SDG to right holders. So right holders who often criminalized and persecuted for defending their rights, with women at the forefront. I always insist that recognizing and giving right holders effective space for participation is key to accelerating the pace of SDG 6 implementation, so that their voices and issues at the local level are heard at the global level. Finally, in my opinion, the next World Water Forum in Indonesia should take up and address these needs arising from the conference and encourage the states that participate in it to take an active role in addressing these needs, both in their own countries and within the UN. We must not forget that the forum cannot be a substitute for the natural sphere of states, which is the United Nations. On the other hand, the World Water Forum should be open to an effective participation of the rights holder, not only for the richest and more affluent stakeholders, avoiding the profile of previous occasions with unaffordable registration costs for people without drinking water and sanitation due to their conditions of extreme poverty. A broad and effective social participation is essential, Excellencies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pedro Arrojo Agudo, Special Rapporteur on the Human Right to Water and Sanitation. I believe that this was a very crispy intervention. Thank you very much for having managed to do that in 5 minutes. Before we open the Q&A, I would just like to ask if Johannes is still online, if he can just give us like his slogan for the 10th World Water Forum, and then we will open the floor to question. We can take maybe 1 or 2 questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we have some time for answering any questions, if there are questions to the UN system. But for me, I think it has become clear from all interventions, and Pedro has just reinforced this, that we need to think water as a mainstreaming agent. I have heard intercop process, I've heard mainstreaming. We need to bring water to all the other discussions. We cannot tolerate anymore food system summit without addressing water questions, or for biodiversity. In biodiversity is there is life in the desert, but the biodiversity is not highest in the desert. So we need to really focus on those possibilities. Climate change mitigation is related to aquatic and semi-aquatic ecosystems that absorb carbon. Those are the main things, and human rights, as I said in the start, of course, are indiscussable, indisputable. They have to be granted. So I think I don't want to take long now. I just wanted to offer the possibility for you to ask any questions. The UN water strategy will address the mainstreaming with a priority. We've already started to work on that, should the decision be taken in New York on Friday. So we are ready in UN to support these discussions.
Thank you, Johannes. So I will now open the floor for questions. Also online, we have received some. Is there any question in the room at the moment? I see Brazil. You have the floor.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor, and I would like to thank the Geneva Environmental Network for organizing this under the a great leadership of Diana, and to our colleagues from Indonesia for also putting all the effort in this event. We understand that when it comes to water, there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and that cooperation between riparian states should be fomented. In that sense, I also have the impression that within the water agenda, sometimes we focus too much on management, on water management, and we tend to forget sanitation, which is a problem, of course, that involves the poorest in our societies. Of course, we know that in rich neighborhoods or in rich countries, sanitation is not a problem, so we tend to ignore it. My question to all the panelists is, how do we balance this agenda out so that the interests of the most vulnerable are also taken into account? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take 2 questions and then revert back to the panelists. Is there any other question or intervention? I see China, the representative of China. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and Ambassador Fabry, Ambassador Paul, thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to thank the permanent mission of Indonesia for organizing this very important event and offering us the opportunity to focus on water again in this Geneva platform. My question is that, 97% of Earth's water is in the ocean. UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres has called for greater action to protect ocean. And we must take immediate action to stop polluting the ocean and to avoid discharging any poisonous waste or contaminated items into the ocean. And my question is, in addition to the self-regulation of some countries concerned, what binding measures can we take to preserve the maritime environment, to protect the ocean? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we now have 2 questions. I would like to revert back to the panelists and see if anyone wants to take any of them. Maybe I don't see any big willingness, so I'll just ask people to reply. Maybe we can ask either Mr. Pedro Arrojo Agudo or Mr. Atmawi Jaja to reply on the question of vulnerability and how to make sure that we also focus on sanitation for the 10th World Water Forum.
Yes, with pleasure. Yes, for me, I used to say when we talk about 2 billion people without guaranteed access to safe drinking water and sanitation, the majority, the large majority is not properly thirsty people without water in their environment, but very impoverished people living next to a polluted river or a polluted aquifer. So pollution, and mainly in more and more toxic pollution, so dangerous from mining activities, from industry, from many, and also, of course, sanitation, as you said, in cities, urban context and so on, is very important also, but not just in impoverished countries, even in richer countries, this is a problem. It's a secondary issue, not so politically profitable, but is essential. Without sanitation, without avoiding toxic discharges or even from agriculture, intensive agriculture, pesticides, we will not have safe drinking water. It's closely related. So I agree with this intervention. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Atmawi Jaja, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I just would like to add some more elements of response to the questions highlighted by our colleague from Brazil and China. I think you both mentioned about 2 very important issues related to water management. And the first one is about sanitations. We totally agree with your observations about the lack of sanitations has been the major problem for many countries, including Indonesia. We see that the system is now improving, but still lag behind of the SDG target. So that's why we, the government of Indonesia and the World Water Councils, and also as a result of the first stakeholder consultations meeting, has put sanitation issue as one of the point of this the discussions under the sub-themes, the second sub-themes, yeah. So water and human and nature. So please welcome to discuss this issue in a very elaborated way in the upcoming agenda during the second SCM in Bali, as well as during the Forum Week in 2024. So we agree with the sanitation is very much important. And also for the colleagues from China, I think you mentioned about the very important issue as well in the modern era where the urbanized country like Indonesia, maybe with now 70% of people living in the urban areas, and our coastal areas, our maritime or our periphery has been very much affected with the solid waste. So we cannot exclude solid waste in the water management. So as well as in the plastic waste from the water management. So this is also very much related to the sub-theme number 2, yeah, the water, human and nature, which will be discussed in the upcoming Bali Forum. So we touch upon the issue of water quality improvement and management. Thank you for the questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Atmawi-Jaja. I believe here Mr. Paul Beckers would like to say something, and then Ms. Sonia Kappel would like to reply as well.
No, let me wait for the specialists first.
You can start. Thank you. Indeed, with regard to maritime pollution, big majority comes actually from upstream from the rivers. So it is important to tackle fresh water and oceans in an integrated manner. And it's positive to see that this topic of source to sea management is gaining more and more traction. For example, there was a high-level symposium on this topic at the UN Oceans Conference in Portugal. And also the topic was also discussed to some extent in New York at the UN Water Conference. Also in the Water Convention, this is an upcoming topic. For example, we had a specific global workshop on the topic of source to sea management in December last year. And it was decided to develop a guidance note on this topic in the coming years. And finally, with regards to sanitation, I totally agree that this has been long time under discussed, under tackled. And we can see that the SDG targets are among the ones most lagging behind. So significant investments are needed. And also even speaking about it at a global level. And I would just like to say that we also have a unique instrument, a so-called Protocol on Water and Health, which is a joint instrument between WHO, Europe and UNECE, which exactly helps countries also to address challenges related to sanitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to add to the issue that was raised by DPR Yang of China. I think it's very, very important that you raise the issue of protecting the oceans, and I think Guterres needs all the support we can give him, because I think it's an issue that's almost so alarming that you should wonder, aren't we too late? It's not just for water management essential. It's about CO2 containment, so regarding the whole climate discussion and ecologically. If I may just ask the guests here, how many sharks do we think we kill each year? Anybody has a guess? Okay, the first time I was asked a question, I didn't even know there were so many sharks. Monsieur Le France? Oh no, I thought you had a guess. It's 100 million sharks each year killed by commercial fishing. Apparently, it's even many more. I didn't even know there were that many sharks. But the decrease of the amount of sharks in the oceans, it's incredible. And of course, sharks are essential in the whole food chain, the whole ecological system. So this is so alarming. So it deserves all the priority. And I think there's countries here present who are all, well, pretty much all of us are somehow related and part of killing of these sharks. So I think it's a responsibility for all of us. So I just wanted to add that to DPR Young's comment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Just like to pass the floor to Ambassador Rudyard as well.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And I have to make a disclaimer that I'm not a water expert. I'm just learning this because of Indonesia hosting the World Water Forum for the last 2 weeks. But I think from the discussion, I think it's quite enlightening to see that many issues. This is only around maybe less than 200 people in the room, but it's already bringing the issue. It's very important, which I believe this issue will be taken up during the next meeting. But one thing that I would like to share with you is my attention to the issue of continuity and connectivity between all water forums that we had that has been put forward by our colleague from Egypt. I think this is quite a big question for us. We had so many conferences on the water, with so many multi-stakeholders coming together and have a meeting. I think we should try to find what is the continuity and the connectivity between one forum and the other forum. Of course, it's very easy to say it's supposed to be complement each other, but the devil is in the detail. How are you going to complement each other? And I think it should be one issue that should be discussed in World Water Forum. And secondly, is on the I'm really referring to what Pedro has mentioning on the issue of inclusivity of water. So many major stakeholders, which is non-state parties, which I believe they are the local government. I think they have to be able to say something, and I'm expecting that the National Organizing Committee also involving the local government this particular issue. Last but not least is the issue bring forward by a colleague from China. Thank you so much for your attendance. And but I think we have to find a clear way to make sure what is really constitute water and ocean. Because we have in ocean, we have our ocean conference, we have the UN, exactly like water. And they have their own commitment and their own debate and their own dynamic. So I think we should find a nexus between ocean and water. Because if we cannot find the nexus, I think people are becoming fragmented whenever they discuss about water. Everything is water. Rainfall is water. Ocean is water, ocean is coming from the river. So it is like in one big family of the planet Earth. So I think if we can find a nexus where that we can converge those issues in water and ocean, I think it will be benefit for all of us. Thank you so much, colleague from China, for bringing this issue.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I think it's a very important point that you made, that we need continuity. We unfortunately need to start closing this session. So I will give the floor to our panelists to give just their slogan. So really 30 seconds on what they expect out of the 10th World Water Forum. And because Giannis Kalman is not there, so we will start with, I think we will go in the reverse order. So Pedro, you have the floor, and then we will go in the reverse order.
You give me the floor, isn't it? Right?
30 seconds, your slogan for Bali.
Yes. For me, it's very important to take into account that Bali can be important for the future if we are able to reinforce the results, not so big results, but important, of the water conference in New York, strengthening the capacities of the UN with respect to water and sanitation services and water management planning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Special Rapporteur. I now turn to Ms. Sonia Koppel for her 30-second slogan for the 10th World Water Forum.
I would say water is life, and we need to, as it was said, mainstream water into other processes. And for example, not only the SDG Summit, but also the Summit of the Future next year provides an opportunity to do this. So linking Bali to other global events, also the different COPs of UNFCCC, of CBD, etc., will be very important in my view. And also giving a voice to those who don't usually speak, which also includes not only civil society, but also, for example, basin organizations and indigenous people.
Thank you very much. I now turn to Mr. Ahmed Taya from Egypt. You're online. If you can give us 30 seconds.
So I believe that water management is fragmented, is internally fragmented and externally isolated. Is internally fragmented over the hydrological cycle, the political borders, and is externally isolated from its ecosystem. So I hope that Bali World Water Forum can help in developing an ecosystem for water which connect all these segments in one integrated water management system. Thank you.
Thank you for this excellent concluding word. And now I turn to Mr. Atmawi Jaja for his concluding word as well.
Thank you. As the host of the 2024 10th World Water Forum, Indonesia with the World Water Council encourage concrete steps to contribute to solving water issues, in addition to the mechanism that exists in the forum so far, namely the political, thematic, and regional process. We are of the view that it would be beneficial if there is a real and concrete projects that will be annexed into the outcomes documents of the forum. So we welcome you all in Bali with so much expectations and also inclusive spirits in the next October and May 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unless there is any concluding word from our ambassadors. Yes? Okay, please, Mr.
Thank you. Just a very short concluding. I think water is no longer a right. Water is a privilege. So I think everyone have access to water. You have a privilege. I think we should take care very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very poignant last word. On my behalf, I just want to conclude here this meeting and recall that the Geneva Water Hub is also very committed to the process of the 10th World Water Forum. We're part of the working group and really enthusiastic and continue to promote also water for peace within the 10th World Water Forum. I conclude here and thank again the Permanent Mission of the Republic of Indonesia and the Geneva Environmental Network for having convened us here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you in Bali.
Bye.
Bye-bye.